me this morning from Lithium Australia's Adrian Griffin. Adrian, morning.
Good morning, Andrew.
Adrian, you've got a team of guys at Diggers and Dealers this week. From what they're telling you, what's the vibe?
It's pretty interesting. I guess from our point of view, we're heavily promoting sustainability, and that's Lithium Australia, our battery recycling division, the only recycler of lithium-ion batteries in Australia. And that's creating a lot of interest with large mining companies. They know they've got an environmental problem. They know they're using a lot of batteries, and we can help them with that problem. Well, help solve the problem. And then there's Lithium Australia, the energy storage business that we have that sells battery units for the storage of power from renewable energy. And there's an enormous amount of interest there. And in fact, most of that interest is from individuals rather than companies. So that's good to see. People are becoming very self-conscious about it, and they want to save money on their power bills. In a more general sense, I think if you have a look at what happened at Diggers Day One, the winners were the gold companies. There's a gold boom on, of course, and I haven't seen anything like this since the 1980s. You know, it's pretty spectacular. And Saracen and Northern Star stole the limelight with a $16 billion merger. Now, you can't deny them the credibility and the kudos for doing that. It's absolutely fantastic. We need to see more of that. Day two, the winners were probably the battery metals. We had BHP expressing their green credentials, and Eddie Hagel, who heads up the Nickel West, their nickel division. Eddie did use the T word on a number of occasions, Tesla, but didn't confirm the rumour that was started by Bloomberg's that they've actually cut a deal with Tesla. So we don't know what's happening there. But then after that, there was Liontown talking about what is now the fourth largest lithium resource, primarily spodumene at Kathleen Valley. And that propelled the shares to a new high, adding about 15% on after their presentation. So battery metals were day two.
And just on the topic of spodumene, Adrian, your technology is aimed at improving the sustainability of producers, isn't it? Just tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, indeed. The process that we've got that's registered as LENA, which is a caustic conversion process. So there's no roasting. Because there's no roasting, it's not susceptible to particle size. The problem that you have with conventional converters is they run through a rotary kiln. You've got gas running in one direction, solids running in the opposite direction. When the particles are too fine, they get blown out and you can't roast them. So we've developed a process that gets around that problem, gets around a lot of the problems with respect to impurities also. Now, the material that people reject and end up going to tailings dams may constitute up to 30 or even in some cases 50% of the lithium units that were mined in the first place. Well, the LENA process is absolutely ideal, focused on and designed for recovering lithium from those products.
And how does all this, Adrian, fit into your plans to produce cathode powders?
Well, one thing that we've done with LENA that is fairly unusual, we can produce a range of lithium chemicals out of that process. We think there are huge advantages in producing lithium phosphate. It gets around some of the water balance problems that you have with conventional processing. It's actually cheaper, it's easier to refine, you get better recovery. So phosphate, we believe, is the way to go. And that phosphate, lithium phosphate, is absolutely ideal feed to go straight into the production of lithium ferrophosphate cathode powders, that's LFP, a particular type of lithium-ion battery, and do that without having to produce hydroxide, which has a very high degree of technical skill required to do that, or carbonate. So what we do in going the phosphate route is we cut a number of links out of the supply chain, shorten that supply chain, and make it more viable to go from mine site through to motor vehicle.
Are we seeing a bit of a resurgence in interest in the lithium space at the moment?
Yeah, we sure are. There are a number of drivers there, and I think the automotive industry, of course, is one of the big drivers. In China, we've seen in September an increase in vehicle manufacturing of 13%. We've seen 6 consecutive months there of increased growth in the vehicle industry. That's pretty astounding. In Europe, the motor vehicle industry as a whole is going backwards, but the EVs are increasing, and the EVs, in fact, are now 8% of the market. So there's good market penetration there. So those two things are drivers. And then there are the programs that people have put in place effectively to green the economy, and these are post-COVID stimulus packages. And if you look at the rate at which they're implemented, China leads the world. They lead the United States probably by 6 months, and the United States subsequently leads Europe by about 9 months. Now, we're already seeing the turnaround in China. So I'm not sure what Donald Trump is doing. I worry about that man, I've got to say, but not sure what he's doing. But if he can maintain that track record and bring it in about 6 months behind the Chinese, the US economy will look good, and we'll see plenty of growth in the vehicle industry there. And certainly, the European industry, as I mentioned, looks pretty good at the moment, but when they kick in those post-COVID subsidies, it'll look even better.
And how are your shareholders going to benefit from all this, Adrian?
Well, there are a number of things on the horizon quite clearly, and we've got exposure to most of the battery industry. We've got a very good suite of intellectual property, and those patents, processes are all designed around sustainability, and the world has got to the point where it can't keep throwing things away. So the sustainability aspect of Lithium Australia is certainly attractive for shareholders, and we will have cash generation out of EnviroStream, the recycling business, and out of Lithium Australia, the energy storage business.
That's great, Adrian. Many thanks.
Thank you, Andrew.